lots of things to relate to. I'm personally Lebanese. I left home. I came to live here. I completely related to that sense of not knowing where you belong exactly and trying to decide which side, basically, because it's quite black and white in this one. So tell us a little bit more about the character and what she goes through.
Yeah, she's at the start of the film, really the decision has been made for her to move over to New York. She's a young girl when she moves over, and I think her sister sees the life that she could have in Ireland and wants something better for her. And there's a great moment near the start, which is really just a testament to Nick's writing, that he captures this feeling so well, that she doesn't have enough clothes to fill up her suitcase, and that's why Rose wants her to leave and have a better life, but she's scared and she doesn't know what to expect. And just like you were saying, she goes over there and feels that kind of weight that you feel when you suffer from homesickness. And I think when you don't know what to expect or when that will leave you, that's kind of the scariest thing. So she goes through that, and kind of gradually and very delicately, because of the people that she's interacting with and this man that she falls in love with, she starts to come out of herself and become this kind of more mature, confident person. And it's
her own person.
And her own person, yeah. And it's a very gradual thing, but we really notice it then when she goes back to Ireland in the second half of the film, and we see this confidence in her, and yeah, it's great. It's such a kind of lovely, delicate progression. So.
Yeah, it's a flower character. It unfolds.
Yeah, and it's not like overly dramatic. Yeah. There's no kind of big emotional revelation or anything like that. It's just more like real life. It's a very kind of, it's a slow process to come out of yourself, and you don't even realize it's happening to you, really.
Absolutely. More than any film, fashion informs the character, her fashion choices. So how much fun was it for you to, play with the costumes and make them, the character itself? How much did it help?
It really did help, actually. I think when she starts to go through that change and she starts to kind of hold herself in a different way, and it's just more confident even when it comes to talking to men, that was something that she's quite shy with to begin with, and she really starts to come out of herself. And Odile just mapped it out so well. Odile, our costume designer, it always felt like Odile was coming from a very emotional place. Like she was almost she was in the mind of the character as she was picking out these clothes. She wasn't just thinking of it purely from an aesthetic point of view. And that was really nice, because she gave me so much input and really wanted me to have my own opinion on all of the stuff that we wore. But yeah, it really did help. And also, back in the 50s, it was funny how much of a difference it makes to you. It's such a womanly shape, yes. And you're encouraged to, with those kind of clothes, you're encouraged to have curves and a bum and boobs and all the rest of it. And I think there's so many different styles now that just kind of force women to feel like they have to be waif-like and have no shape at all, whereas back in the 50s it was a much healthier shape that was encouraged by the clothes that they wore.
Absolutely. So. I always see pictures of Marilyn Monroe and movies and stuff like that, and it's beautifully voluptuous and
absolutely
and normal for the time, but it's aesthetically different for us.
But it's normal even now, and yet women are and girls, like young girls, are trying to force themselves to be a certain body, like a model, and most women aren't like that. And even for me, I remember I hit 20 and all of a sudden the body just like little curves started to come, and it was great.
Absolutely. I always say my hips, they're here. I was born with them. That's it. They can't go anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
What's really also interesting about the film is that it is set in the 50s, which makes it a different pivotal phase in immigration, especially for Irish. It was a different time from the 1850s and the 1900s. Was that all part of the research, that the 50s was quite a different time for people leaving Ireland?
It wasn't for me as much, because I just simply thought of it from an individual kind of perspective. The only thing that I read as a reference point that John said I should read was Philadelphia Here I Come, a Frail play, and And that was actually very helpful because it's a similar sort of time. And I think, you know, at that time in the 50s, the church was very much running the country, and that really affected, I guess, people's relationships with each other, people's relationships with their family and how much they express themselves. And so there was sort of an emotional sort of repression, I guess, which makes it even more heartbreaking that, you know, I mean, when I go away and I feel sad and I feel homesick, I call my mum up and I just, like, everything comes out, you know. So it was nice to play with that time and kind of restrain yourself a little bit more, I guess.
Absolutely. I will never get over not living in the same country as my sister. It's, you know, it's never going to happen. It's these kinds of feelings that they have.
Yeah.
Do you feel also a bit of an interesting parallel with Hollywood when a young talented actress like yourself goes to an industry that is, you know, a little bit of a different world? Did you ever feel like you needed to find your own identity within Hollywood?
I just don't really feel like I'm a part of that world, really, you know. And listen, Hollywood's important. Hollywood, or the idea of it, you know, not the actual place, because Hollywood itself is actually really cool in LA. But it's the industry, you know. It's the machine. It's the money side of it, and it's there and it's not going away, and we need it. But I think for me, it's only ever been about just work, and that's the only focus that I have. And I think once your motive doesn't change, then you can keep quite a strong head through it all. And also, if you have people around you who aren't fazed by that world, it means that you'll kind of respond to that as well, I think. So I pop into it, I do what I need to do, but I've never lost touch of who I am because of that world, you know. If anything, it makes me more sure of who I am, you know.
That's the healthiest attitude to have.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the films that have informed you as an actress, the actresses, all performances from actors that you thought were so strong that you feel like they've influenced you.
I think anything that Tilda's done, that Kate's done, Kate Blanchett and Kate Winslet, actually, Meryl Streep, looking back at people like Bette Davis, who I loved the actresses back then that were really interesting to look at, and they didn't conform, like, she really didn't, to that Hollywood look. She wasn't that kind of woman, and I don't think she wanted to be. She was a very strong actor, and I think even back then, if Bette Davis wanted to play a man, she could have, you know, because she was incredibly strong. So I always loved to see women like that on screen. Also, Robin Wright. I mean, you know, House of Cards is such a fantastic series, I think, but she really captivates me. I love to see actors and actresses on screen who keep a little bit of something for themselves. They don't just share everything with the audience, and I think that's kind of the magic with cinema, is that you don't have to share everything. There's a kind of, there can be a mystery to it, and she always brings that. So and it keeps you interested, because you kind of you're like, I wonder what she's thinking, you know.
Yeah, you want a little bit more.
Yeah.